Well, hello, I'm Philip, and I'm a young millionaire. That would have been fine, but my dad has become jealous of me, which has caused me quite a few problems. To start with, I've been addicted to computer games since I was a kid. You know, all these new shooters and RPGs. My parents didn't approve of that, of course. Adults always think it's just fun and a waste of time. When I was 7 years old, I still begged my father for a computer, said I needed it for school and everything, and so I had the cherished hardware on my desk. I dusted it off and never let anyone go near it. And the first time I played a strategy game, that was it. I was carried away. All my free time I sat at the computer. But I was afraid my parents wouldn't like it, and they would take away my cherished dream.
Phil, how long are you going to waste your time playing games? You better help me at the store.
Dad, it's called cybersports. It's not a waste of time. And if I develop the skill, then I can make money on it. Dad just sighed and went to do his little business. We had a store where he sold auto parts. He kept asking me for help there. I understand he wanted to pass the business on to me in the future. But I decided to do what I liked. I did well in school. There were never any complaints about me. And I helped my dad around the house too, especially after Mum left us. Dad was always busy with the store, and Mum was a housewife. And one day, she just took off with our mailman. Dad was completely immersed in work at the time. I was on my own, and I found nothing better to do than to spend all my free time playing games. My skills grew, and I was the best player in town. I was ranked number 1 in all the rankings. Of course, at first, I thought it was nothing, but life had other plans for me. I don't get it. Who are you?
We're watching the ratings. Your game is impressive. Would you like to take part in a regional match?
Yes, I could try.
The prize pool isn't big, only $100,000, but if that doesn't bother you, of course we'll meet you at the talks in London.
I hung up the phone and was in complete shock. I was just lucky. How could that be? I got a call from Stars Industries, the developers of the game in which I had the best score. I had no idea they would contact me. I ran to tell my dad about it. Dad, the developers of the game called me and invited me to the regional championships in London.
Don't be ridiculous, Phil. Someone just played a trick on you.
The prize is $100,000. I'd like to give it a shot.
Yeah, and where are you going to get the money for travel and lodging? You're just a student.
Daddy, do I have to go there? You can buy me a ticket, right?
No, I'm not going to spend money on a ticket because someone has conned you. If they wanted to, they would have paid for your flight themselves.
I was so mad. After my mum left, my dad didn't pay any attention to me. He just withdrew into himself and only talked to me as a last resort. So why, when, for the first time in a long time, I asked him for something, he was unable to help me? I freaked out and went outside for some air. I went to the park, sat down on a bench, and started to think about where I could get the money for a ticket. The developer said that the match was in 2 weeks, so I wouldn't have time to earn the necessary sum during that time. Borrowing from someone else wasn't an option either. What if I didn't win and I just didn't have the money? Without a single hope, I went home and locked myself in my room. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I couldn't help but take it. Then I heard a knock on the door. It was my father. He'd agreed to give me the money, but on one condition. If I win the championship, I pay him back, and if I don't, or it's just a scam, I work it off in our store and stop playing my games. I knew I was taking a risk, but I wasn't going to pass up that chance. My father and I struck a deal. I didn't get up from my computer for the remaining 2 weeks. I practiced as hard as I could, improving my game. My father, of course, disapproved, grumbling and squinting at me all the time, but he didn't say anything. The day of the flight came. I left the house and met my father on the doorstep. I'll be back in a week.
Okay, I hope this is not some kind of prank and they don't send you back to London.
Dad, stop being so pessimistic.
All right, go and be careful. I won't wish you luck.
I got out and hit the road. I reached London quickly. At the airport, I was met by a girl, Margaret, an employee of the company. She said I would be taken to the hotel where I decided to stay. To be honest, I immediately liked Margaret. She was short with blonde hair and blue eyes. She even reminded me of a fairy from a fantasy game. On the way, we got to talking, and I learned that the match will be held in 3 parts. First, there would be 8 teams. The next day, 4 teams, and then the finale with 2 teams. The teams will have 5 people on each team, with a total prize pool of $500,000, and each team member will get 100 grand in cash. I couldn't even imagine that. I knew there were matches like this, but I didn't ever think that I would be one of the participants. The driver drove me to the hotel and Margaret came out to see me off. "Philip, be careful. At least 10 other participants are staying at this hotel. They might do something to you, to keep you from participating." What do you mean? Why would they do that? "There are substitute players who are here in case someone else can't participate. They'll try to get you out of the game before the match." She didn't have time to say anything else. The driver called out to her and they drove off. I went into the hotel trying not to be alarmed. So they're used to playing dirty here. I checked into my room and dialed the supervisor, whose number I had been given earlier. The phone rang, and then a cheerful male voice gave instructions on how to prepare, and familiarised me with the characteristics of the computer I was used to playing on. After the conversation, I decided to rest. I lay down and passed out. I woke up from a strange sound in the corridor. I cautiously looked out of the door as I felt someone pull me and covered my mouth with his hand. I didn't even have time to do anything before I blacked out. I opened my eyes and realised that I was in a room with no windows. My hands were tied and my mouth was taped shut. I started banging my feet on the door, as it seemed to me, but no one responded. I don't know how long I stayed like that, but when I heard footsteps in the corridor, I started trying to attract attention. The door opened and I saw Margaret. "Oh my God, Philip, what happened to you?" She started to untie me. "I knew something was going to happen. It's a good thing I thought I'd come back and check on you. I was on my way home from work." She untied me and pulled me out of the back room. "Thank you. Is this what you were talking about when you warned me about the danger? I'm glad you decided to come back." That evening, after the incident, I invited Margaret to my room. We drank coffee and talked. I learned from her that such incidents have happened many times. Contestants are taken out of the game before the match even begins, so that the substitutes can take the places of the absentees and have a chance to win. The week in London went by quickly. Amazingly, my team won. We won first place. I didn't expect that, but I and the guys played along, and that's why we succeeded. I came home with a $100,000 win. I was in a hurry to share my joy with my father. I found him in our store. Daddy, I won. Can you believe it? Here, look, it's $100,000.
"You must be very happy. Congratulations."
Of course I am. It's my first achievement. I still can't believe it. Aren't you glad?
"But how can you make money on computer games? It's just a dabble."
Oh my God, well, how can I explain to a man who grew up in the days of the dinosaurs that cybersports bring the same income as regular sports? Why can't he just be happy for me? I was angry, really angry, and so I didn't even have time to tell him the most important thing. After my arrival, my father became even more silent. In the morning, he left for work and came back late at night. We still couldn't talk. It hurt me that my dad wasn't even happy for me. My team and I won the regional championship, but that meant we now had an international match to play. A month after London, the game was to be played in Vegas. One night, I walked into my dad's office and told him I was going to the international championship game soon. "Dad, I'm going soon. My team and I are going to represent the US at the World Championships."
"Is this another one of your silly things?"
"It's not stupid. I could win $1 million there. $1 million. Can you imagine? You won't make that much in a lifetime."
"I make an honest living, and you're just bullshitting."
You just can't support me. All you know how to do is criticise.
"It's not criticism. You need to grow up and face the truth. You're not going to do this your whole life, are you?"
And I'm not going to. And you can't even be happy for me. You're just obnoxious. Maybe that's why Mum left you. I shouted these words in his face and left. Of course, I know I hurt him by reminding him about my mum, but he just pissed me off. After that argument, my father and I didn't speak at all. I started getting ready to leave, but I didn't know what date to take my ticket. I was supposed to get a call from the company with the dates, but the call never came. After waiting a week, I got a text message from Margaret. "Phil, are you okay? What's going on?" I immediately dialed her on the phone. She told me that the company had been trying to contact me for a week, but they had been told that I couldn't leave the country right now due to family reasons. I told her there was nothing wrong and I was ready to go to the championships. And like a hammer on the head, I heard that I had to leave tomorrow. Puzzled, I wondered what all this meant. How did this happen? And who told me I wouldn't play? And then it hit me. "Dad, what did you do? What did you do?"
"What?"
"The development company called and you said I wouldn't play in the championship."
"I thought it was some kind of prank."
"Don't play dumb. I already told you about my participation. Why did you do it?"
I've been working my whole life. I've worked hard for a living, and you just won $100,000. And now, thanks to your stupid toys, you're going to win $1 million? How is that fair?
So you did it just out of jealousy? How could you do that? I'm your son.
Yes, I know people like that. You'll get rich and leave me too. Why would you want a penniless father?
I opened my mouth and just couldn't say anything. I walked out of the store, closing the door carefully. I walked around town all night, bought tickets for the next day, and then came home, packed my bags, and left. It was just like that time. Margaret met me at the airport. Also, the week flew by very quickly. Good thing this time without any intrigue. After all, the international level, our team won. Everyone got $1 million. I was going home with a heavy heart. That last conversation with my father kept me going. I kept thinking, why did he do that? And would I be able to forgive him? I quietly walked home and saw my father sitting in front of the television in the hall. I carefully put the suitcase on the floor and walked over to Dad. He didn't look me in the eye. Dad, I won $1 million.
I know, I got a call from your friend Margaret. Congratulations.
Dad, listen, I'll never leave you, and I won't need that money if it's going to be a problem for us. I know you think I'm going to leave you as Mum did, but I love you.
Phil, I'm sorry. I was acting like a kid.
I understand, and I understand why you were so afraid of that, and I'm sorry about what I said. Dad got up from his chair and hugged me. He'd never hugged me like that before. I know I'm the only person he's ever had in his life, and I'll never leave him. Now, let's figure out what to do with a lot of money.
Come on. Oh, by the way, what about your friend Margaret? Will you introduce her?
I will, as soon as I get a chance to meet her.
Так сразу.